Hello folks, in patch 11.05, the World of Warcraft developers have done a full pass over a bunch of older raids to make sure they're fully soloable, and this includes the Shadowlands raid, which means we're now able to start farming those juicy transmogs and mounts from the Sanctum of Domination raid on a level 80 or above character. Now, I personally recommend having round about an item level 600 or above, maybe even 615 if you're on a healer character. There's nothing particularly hard about any of the fights, with only the Sylvanas fight having any mechanics that actually matter, but the bosses do have quite a lot of health, and a full run can take up to 90 minutes, although that is going to reduce a lot as the expansion goes on. The big prize of any old raid is of course the mounts, and this raid rewards not one but 2 mounts. The Sanctum Gloomcharger drops from the 9 boss on any difficulty including LFR, which does mean you can do multiple runs per week on a single character for this one. The second mount is Vengeance, which drops from Sylvanas on Mythic difficulty only. Both of these mounts are rare drops, and we don't know the drop rates for sure, but it's very likely to be 1%. Before we start, I do want to show you how to get to the raid. First and most importantly, if you didn't play during Shadowlands, you are going to need to do the main Shadowlands campaign, right the way through until unlocking Kothia, which is the 9.1 patch zone. To get started in that, speak to Darian Mograine outside the Stormwind Citadel or Grommash Hold. If you're unlocking it in an alt, there are skips available. Just talk to Sally Whitemane, who will be beside Darian for the first skip. For LFR, what you need to do then is to head over to Oribos and into the Enclave. When you enter, just to the left of the main map table and you find Telfer. Speak to them, and the encounter you want to select to do is the Jailor's Vanguard to get started. Now, to get to the other difficulties of the raid, if you played the Shadowlands and know your way around the Maw, then do feel free to skip to the next section. But for those of you who need a guide, what you want to do is to head up to the flight path area in Oribos and then jump down in the middle section. Once in the Maw, you want to head to the left and along this path here towards Desmeratan Keep. At the keep, just follow the main road downwards and then upwards towards the entrance. Now, if you haven't run through the Shadowlands content, you will not be able to mount up in the Maw. So if you can, kill one of the mounted NPCs and you can steal their mount for a bit. Getting into the raid and the first boss, the Tarragrue has a very unique mechanic where you can pick up a bunch of additional abilities from the 4 very large NPCs around the outside of the boss area. If you did Torghast, you will be pretty familiar with these. While these abilities were originally a random selection of 3, Blizzard have now changed it so you only ever get the 4 same powers. Thankfully, these are the most useful ones for the fight. The first one you want to take is Ever Beating Heart, as this will negate some very annoying fear and stuns from the boss. Now, in future expansions, this will probably be enough, and you'll be able to go straight into the boss now. But for the War Within, I do recommend going round and getting the others as well. The Tarragrue is a very simple boss to do. Just burn him down, completely ignoring the mechanics. Thanks to all of the abilities you picked up, it's pretty easy to do. If it's your first run, I recommend picking up the skip quest from Bolvar after the boss. This will require you to do 4 full runs, but it will save a ton later on. Now, when you do get the skip, there is something you do need to be aware of. Using the skip involves talking to one of the NPCs in the first boss area, but if you decide to go through the first portal without using that skip, you will then not be able to use the skip at all during that weekly reset. What this means in practice is that if you want to skip to the 9 in Sylvanas, you'll want to do Sylvanas first and then come back later for the 9. Now, I will come back to the subject of the skip later to explain that a little more, but for the purposes of this guide, as I'm going to be doing a full run through, we're going to go through the portal. For the next fight, Eye of the Jailor, you will find that you cannot get across to the adds on the other side of this shield thing. Once you kill the adds on this side, what you need to do is to run over to the pile of chains, then hit your extra action button, and that will yeet you over to the other side. Now, the old mythic mechanic that could drag you off the platform to your death has been removed, so it's now safe to stand at the edge of the platform and just fight him. When the adds come in, what you want to do is to move to one side or the other. The reason for that is that the adds can drop a pool under your feet, and if you drop that in the middle, it can be pretty annoying when you're fighting the boss. Now, the boss still does have a death beam mechanic, but I found that in most cases, will do enough damage that you'll be able to avoid it entirely. But if you do get the beam, all you just need to do is to run to the chains on the opposite side from where the beam starts, use your extra action button, and that will put you over the other side and you'll be able to avoid it. Going over to the next boss, which is a 9, and this is one of the 2 who drops a mount, so this is where it starts to get a bit more interesting. This one involves fighting 2 bosses, with a 3rd coming down later on as one of the first dies. Now, there are 2 things to be aware of with this fight. The first thing is that one of the bosses will drop a very large pool that will apply a shield to the bosses. When that happens, make sure to drag them right out of that pool so that the fight doesn't take much longer than you need it to take. The other thing to be aware of is that you'll see a set of black beams that cross across the platform. These beams still do a bit of a moderate knockback, so you want to try and avoid them, and definitely do not stand near the edge of the platform or you'll just get knocked off. You don't need to worry about killing these bosses at the same time. You can just burn them down one at a time if that's what you want, and good luck on the mount. Once we fight the bosses, we take the lift up to the next area. Hanging a left first in the next area, and we're going to go to Ner'zhul. Now, before the changes, this fight had a ton of really annoying knockbacks that could really yeet you off the platform. Thankfully, they've all been removed, so you don't need to worry about them at all in the fight. All you need to do is to make sure you avoid the white swirlies on the ground, because they do still impose quite an annoying silence on you. Back out and off to the right, and then we're going to visit Soulrender. Now, this fight does have a bit of a mechanic where the boss will drop 3 chains on the ground. Failing to break those back in the day would result in a perma-fear. Fortunately, we now only need to break one of the chains, so just watch for them being dropped. They look like this. Grab it and run it to the end, and then back to the boss. There's really no need to worry about killing any of the adds, just focus on the boss till you get him down. Now that we've killed both of those 2 bosses and we've opened up access to Painsmith, the access corridor has these whirling axes that do a bit of a knockback, so do try to avoid them. Well, there's nothing very dangerous with Painsmith. The rolling balls you see here will stun you, so focus one down to make some space to run through. In the intermission, these spikes will stun and damage you, and this can be an issue in cloth-wearing characters if you take too many stuns, so watch out for the gaps and try to avoid them. In later intermissions, you'll also get these balls to dodge at the same time, and yeah, that is fun. Once we've dealt with Painsmith, it's off to the next area, and this is the area where we land up if we do with the skip, just in case you're wondering. Now, we're going to head right here and go off to Guardian of the First Winds. This one actually really is super easy. Just kill the boss. There's nothing more to say about it. Going round the other side and we get to Fatescribe. Now, wait for the rings to stop moving and then just head into the middle and engage the boss. Eventually, the boss will move into the middle where he will gain a 99% damage reduction shield. Now, probably by the time of the last Titan, we'll have enough DPS that we can just ignore the shield and burst through it. But assuming you want to finish this fight sometime before the weekly reset, for now, we actually do have to do this mechanic properly. During this section, you will get knocked out of the rings area. Just kill the adds and wait for the rings to stop moving. What you then need to do is to look for a glowing rune. Stand in the rune and the ring will start to move. Just walk with the rune until it reaches its target, and this will lock it into place. Then just repeat this with all the other rings. This does take a while, but at least for now, it definitely is faster than trying to deal with that 99% damage reduction. Now, I do recommend avoiding these balls. Each individual ball doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but there are rather a lot of them, and that damage can mount up, especially if you don't have a self-heal, and this can easily cause a wipe. Now, be aware that avoiding the balls does get a lot harder as you get in towards the middle. Once you're done with all of the rings, just go back in the boss, and it's pretty much plain sailing for now. Back out of this boss room, and now we can head up to Kel'Thuzad. This fight requires you to kill Kel'Thuzad 4 times with an intermission between each one. Once you burn his health down to 0, what you need to do is to head to this bit in the middle, and when the extra action button appears, hit the button and go to the other realm. Now just damage this other NPC down until it gets a shield, and then you can head over to the portal and get an extra action button to go back. Now, if like me, you get a bit carried away and miss the portal, don't worry, as you will eventually be sent back anyways. And then all you need to do is to repeat this until the extra ad dies, at which point you'll be able to kill Kel'Thuzad one last time. Now, to help deal with this phase, you're going to see a little helper who will tank the ads and the boss for you to stop them despawning when you're in the other realm. This is super useful, but if you are a tank player, don't get yourself distracted by constantly losing threat to little Arthas, because he's a pretty good tank. I did encounter a bug in one run where as I come up to the main area, the boss despawned on me. If that happens, just go again, as it is a very rare bug. But do be aware that Arthas in that case will insta-pull the boss as it respawns, so this is no time to go AFK. And then finally it's on to Sylvanas. When this was current, this fight was notorious for being one of the longest raid encounters ever. With her damage, it's not going to take the 15 minutes it used to take, but there is still quite a lot to this fight. Phase 1 of the fight is mostly pretty simple, just avoid the pools on the ground. You will get anchored by chains to these arrows a couple of times. The first time I found that you can just ignore them. The second time you get anchored, Sylvanas will go off and start shooting these beams across the platform, and she does that 9 times. It's pointless trying to chase her, so this is a really good time to damage those arrows that are chaining you down. After all of that, and it's on to phase 2. Now, Bolvar will helpfully keep some of the other ads busy, so all you need to do is to head off and follow Jailor. Do be careful, as it's very easy to fall through the holes in our ice platforms, and these waves of grey blobs do a little bit of a knock back, so do also be careful that they don't throw you off. Otherwise, all you need to do is to kill the various ad packs that spawn, keep an eye on Jaina, and follow her quickly as she creates the new platforms. And then finally we have phase 3. After being stunned for a few moments of time, you'll end up on one of the platforms where you can start fighting Sylvanas. Now, there is one important mechanic here that you do need to deal with to avoid a wipe. Look at the edge of the platforms and you'll see little wind animations. These are able to port you over to the other platforms. After a bit in the first platform, Sylvanas will do a cast called Raise. When this cast starts, run to the edge of the platform onto that wind animation to get ported to the next platform. If you don't do this before the cast completes, while you will survive her cast, you will end up trapped on the platform, and Sylvanas will move on to the next one, after which she will despawn, and that will leave you having to redo the entire fight. I found that I had enough damage to defeat her, which only requires getting her health down to 45% thankfully on the second platform. But if you're not as geared, you might need the third platform as well. Once you defeat her, just run off the corner of the platform where you are onto the middle area where you can loot her. And again, good luck on the mount. Well, that's the mains fight. When you get round to using the skip, as I mentioned earlier, you'll probably want to do Sylvanas first. In that case, to get back to the 9, what you need to do is just take the big portal here and it will send you back to the beginning of the raid, where you can then run into the Tarragrue's room and take the portal and go on to do the Eye and the 9. And that's the Sanctum of Domination on Mythic difficulty in a nutshell. Which of the 2 mounts are you most excited for? Or do you have them already? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you have any other tips or advice for soloing this raid, be sure to let us all know. Hopefully you'll get everything you want from the raid without too many runs. I've a few other guides in the pipeline that I'll be releasing in coming weeks. If you want to know when they will be going live or just want to support my channel, then make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notifications. And if you found this video useful, then you can let me know by hitting that like icon. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.